Hey guys, this is Joe with Inno Tours, and today we're going to talk about the very early days of Chicago. See, it all started in the 1670s. There were these two French guys named Marquette and Juliet, and they were up in what's now modern-day Montreal, and the French government really wanted to explore the mighty Mississippi River. So they start their journey through the Great Lakes, and then they wind up in Wisconsin, and they have to go through all these little streams and rivers, and eventually they find the Mississippi, but it was crazy hard on them, and they had a very difficult time navigating Wisconsin. So they're exploring the Mississippi River, and on their way back up, they find some Native Americans. And the Native Americans taught them about a shortcut called Chicago. Chicago literally translates to smelly onions down by the river, or smelly leeks down by the river. That is the origin of Chicago's name. The Native Americans really didn't see use for the land. They're like, it is a prairie, it is swamp, you can't build anything on here, there's no good hunting, there's no good fishing. They really just didn't see the use of the land. But Marquette and Juliet's eyes lit up. They could see that this portage that they were in right now connects the Gulf of Mexico to the Great Lakes system, and they just knew that one day, at some point, this land was going to be something. It wasn't for another 100 years or so, though, that we got our very first permanent resident. His name was Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, and not a lot is known about this guy. He's still kind of a mystery, but we do know that he was half Haitian, and he was our very first permanent resident of the city. Directly across the river from where DuSable's house stood, the U.S. government decided to build a fort over there. It was known as Fort Dearborn. And during the War of 1812, it was attacked. The fort was ambushed by a bunch of Native Americans, and unfortunately 27 American lives were lost at this event. It is known as the Fort Dearborn Massacre. If you're looking at a Chicago flag today, you'll notice these 4 stars on the flag. 4 different events in Chicago's history for 4 different stars. 2 tragedies, 2 triumphs. One of these tragedies is the Fort Dearborn Massacre. But still, at this point, 1812, Chicago has like hardly no one living there. 1820s, hardly no one living there. By 1833, when Chicago becomes a town, there's only roughly 300 people living here. It is a tiny little town. Compare that to the eastern cities of Boston and New York and Philadelphia. Those people already had a population center, they already had a government, they were already up and running. So a lot of these different eastern cities, a lot of the Yankees that lived in there, they saw the opportunity that was Chicago. They all started to rush in at the end of the 1830s, and by the 1840s, Chicago's population boomed with a bunch of different industry and other things that really helped make Chicago great. We're going to talk about those in other episodes. In the next episode, next week, we're going to talk about how Chicago became an industrious city. This population ballooned from 300 people to over 300,000 in roughly 40 years. So until next time, my friends, this is Joe with Inno Tours. Bye-bye.